Welcome to Chop Shop Motors. My name is Clay, and I thought I'd give you an update on the progress that I made over the last day or two on the 55 F100. So it is starting to look like a truck. I think in the last video you should have seen the tailgate, saving the tailgate and kind of putting it back into usable, functional state. So that piece was a nice step forward. I'm going to show you what it looks like and what I did to put it on. I spent a bunch of hours out working on the truck, and I didn't video it only because some of the work was redundant. You've already seen what it looked like on the passenger side, so I didn't show it to you on the driver's side. I probably could have done some work on the tailgate, but it was pretty hot out and I really didn't want the camera kind of in the way and just out in the sun getting baked on. So I'll give you a walk around and let you know where we left off and kind of what the progress is. So we're getting every time I spend a few hours working on it, we get another step closer. The rear fenders are on. I finished both fenders up. I pulled the fenders back off. They were on with about 4 bolts and did all the markings to put them on with all the bolts. So the right fender got bolted on completely and completely bolted together. And then I did the same thing with the left rear fender. I got it mocked up and bolted on, then marked all the bolt holes that need to get drilled into the bed and into kind of the bottom area where the extensions were from the bottom of the bed. So everything is bolted together from a fender perspective on both sides. That's a nice hurdle. It doesn't have to happen to be able to drive it around the block. And I keep saying this over and over again, but while I'm here, I really just want to bolt it together kind of like it's supposed to be. And when it's all done, it's still going to be a scrappy looking, multicolor, kind of scruffy old pickup, but it won't just be duct tape and baling wire together. It'll be solid and bolted together like it should be. And so that's kind of how I want it. The other pieces I did was I had ordered some hinges or pins, tailgate anchors. No, they're not anchors. They're really going to be pivots, tailgate pivots for the bottom of the tailgate. I found a couple on auction site for a couple bucks, so I got those, and I modified the modification that was made to the bed previously, which was an angle iron support. And that back of the tailgate area has really had a lot of work done to it over its life. So it's been modified extensively. So I modified it a little bit more and made it so that the pivots would work and got those bolted on. And I built a couple brackets at the top. I didn't have the tailgate chains for this truck. I have some up at the other shop, but it's not close enough to get them easily, and I'm kind of just wanting to drag this thing across the finish line. And so I built some little plates that hold the tailgate shut all the time, and so that's what we'll use for now. And then I'll eventually, when I get to the other shop after this series of videos is probably done, I'll get the chains and I can do that to it later. But for right now, having it bolted shut is just fine. The other piece I got in the mail was the fuel sender for the gas tank. I ordered it, and man, it got here quick. The tank's not even back from the radiator shop yet, and I already got the sender, so that was super fast. It was pretty inexpensive, or relatively inexpensive. I think it was 40 bucks or something, which I guess isn't really chump change, but the original ones I had didn't work, but boy, is it ever cheap looking. So who knows if it'll actually work. It probably will work for a few months, and you know, at that point we'll figure out what we need to do. So got that, and probably next step, today is yard work day, so I got to do a bunch of other stuff. I probably won't have much chance to work on the truck, but if I do, I'm going to put a battery in it and start to sort out the electrical so that when the tank comes back, it is in a place where, you know, maybe we can give it the juice and turn it loose and fire it up. So that is next on the list, is to sort out the last of the wiring. All the dashes, all the gauges in the dash, switches in the dash are in there and hooked up. It has the existing wiring harness, and it's a little rough around the edges, so we'll see how much work is required to make that function. I know the charging wires need to be extended. I already did one of them for the main power lead, but the other two, the activator for the voltage regulator, the power wire for the voltage regulator, isn't hooked up. So there are some wires that need to be extended there. I gotta sort out what wires that are laying in the engine compartment are actually going to function and need or can be attached. I've got a temp gauge and oil pressure gauge in the truck, so I'm not terribly worried about the gauges, at least not for this, like, you know, the goal of this series of videos, which is to drive it just a little bit. We'll be able to monitor where the engine's at, so that's all good. We're close, we're super close, and just a few, you know, more hours, at least that's what I keep telling myself, a few more hours, and this project and this 30-day truck build will be done, and we'll be taking it for a drive around the block. So I'll grab the camera and I'll show you what the progress looks like. Here is the truck with the tailgate all in place. So I spent some time over the last couple days bolting pieces together and getting them finalized. Pulled the rear fender back off of the truck and drilled all the holes that need to happen to get it to bolt on completely. So did that work yesterday and got that fender all bolted on. Also dressed this rear area where it had some extra studs. I just wanted to get it to kind of disappear a little bit. Not worried about the body work on it at the moment. If we do some body work on it down the road, then, you know, that'll be an area that gets attention. But at the moment, that's just not, it's not what this project is all about. Sometimes those projects creep, but this one's going to stay as true to 30-day truck build as possible, with, you know, a few variations, but not many. We look at the back here. The last time you saw the tailgate, it was welded together and, you know, pretty much a functioning, usable tailgate. It needs more work, but again, it's serving the purpose of what we want to accomplish here. I had picked up some pivots for the tailgate off of an auction site for a couple bucks. So I modified this lower angle down here. I think you can kind of see it right in here. I notched it so the pivot would sit in there, and yet I didn't want to take that off, or I didn't want to get into the, can we, you know, bring this back of the tailgate back to kind of OEM. It isn't in the cards for it at the moment. So it has had a lot of work done on it to strengthen it up and make it so it's rigid, and that you can see the tail lights are attached to a flange that is there to beef it up. So as we go across, did the same thing on the other side, added that pivot, bolted it back through like it would have been, put the plates on it, or plate on it, so it's legal and ready, insured and ready to go. If you notice, it's got tail lights on it. So the tail lights are actually a version of a guide tail light, like you would see on a little Harley Hummer, and they were used on other things as well, but I've got a couple of the little Harleys, and so I keep an eye out for those tail lights. And I had these two. This one on the left, a guide, and it has a little different tail light, pigtail for the electrical, and the one on the right is a D light. So both versions that will look more or less the same, but they are just a little different, and that's what we're using on this truck. If you look on this side, you can see I did a little bit of work to clean up the back of the bed, just to kind of get the studs and stuff cleaned off and make it so it's kind of presentable. You can see where the angle bracket for the tail light has had a lot of different tail lights put in there and different things in it. The other side's even different, so the two were different from each other, and that's just the way it is. So for now, that's kind of how it's going to be. As far as the fender goes, the fender got a lot of attention, so the heel of it, you tell if you can see it, the light's horrible, but the heel of it had some rips and tears that got welded up. You can see a little bit of primer on it. The basic shape of the fender was pretty nice. The front has had to have a patch panel welded in the front. It was completely gone. So I did a patch panel on the front, and this side of the fender was a lot faster just because I already done one side, and so it was a little quicker. I knew what I needed to do and how I wanted to do it. So that was nice, and got the fender completely bolted down with the bolts that are there, which is about 5, and then if you look on that side where the blue tape was, you can see there's some shiny bolts on the front. That's what holds the front lip, and another shiny bolt on the back, and so some of those augment bolts that don't line up and can't be used from the original 51, 52 fender. As far as the fitment at the front, it's all ready to bolt together except for 4 running board bolts. They're not on there yet because I still have to pull this running board off. I still have to do the gas tank, and so I didn't finish bolting it on there just in case I gotta pull that off to get that gas tank in there, and that'll be the easiest way to do it. Once I get the tank back and all that gets done, then we'll bolt that on for the last time, and voila, we'll be in good shape. So what's the truck look like in total? There you have it. That's what the truck looks like, at least to this point. It is multicolor bag of M&Ms, kind of scruffy old truck. Chopper fits it pretty well, but it does look like a truck, and it doesn't look too horrible from my view anyway, so I'm kind of excited about that. We will do a little work on the wiring next. We'll see if we can get some juice to it and make some stuff happen, bring a little life to it. Just a few more steps, handful, and with any luck, we can go around the block. A lot of work just to go around the block, but it's fun. If you like this kind of stuff and you're still with us, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate it. And that's about it for this video. I'm Clay for Chop Shop Motors, and we'll see you on the next project.